What if the fear of reaching out has nothing to do with the other person and everything to do with a story you've been carrying since long before you met them? Most people who struggle with approach anxiety describe it the same way: a tightening in the chest, a sudden awareness of every possible way things could go wrong. The mental rehearsal of rejection so vivid and so rapid that it talks you out of the attempt before your body even has a chance to move. And then the afterward, the particular quality of that silence where the moment used to be. The way you replay it, not with regret exactly, but with this low, persistent ache of wondering what might have happened if you just gone for it. Here's what almost nobody tells you about approach anxiety and what the psychology of it actually reveals. It is not shyness. It is not a personality trait. It is a deeply intelligent survival response that got attached to the wrong threat. And once you understand what it's actually protecting you from, you can begin carefully and with real compassion for yourself to unhook it. Today, we're going to look at a specific belief structure underneath approach anxiety and two practices that don't require you to be brave or just do it, because that advice has never once worked for anyone, and we both know it. From the outside, people who struggle with approach anxiety often look perfectly fine, socially capable, warm, even the kind of person others describe as easy to talk to once you get to know them. But inside, in the charged moment before initiating something vulnerable, whether that's starting a conversation with someone attractive, expressing interest in someone you've been seeing, or just being the first one to say the real thing in a relationship that matters, there's this wall, invisible, solid, and seemingly immovable. And underneath the wall, the fear that's the hardest to admit is not really about rejection. It's about confirmation. The secret terror that if you reach out and it doesn't go well, it will simply prove what some part of you has quietly suspected about yourself for a very long time. That fear is not the truth about you, but it has been running the show. Here's the belief that drives approach anxiety in most people, and it operates so far below conscious thought that most people never examine it directly. It goes like this: my worth is located in their response. If they respond well, I am enough. If they don't, I'm confirmed as not enough. And therefore, the safest thing, the most self-protective thing, is to never give anyone the power to render that verdict. That logic is airtight. It is also completely, quietly devastating. Because what it means in practice is that the most meaningful connections in your life, the ones that would actually nourish and enliven you, are perpetually kept just out of reach by a part of you that is trying, sincerely and desperately, to keep you safe. Safe from a pain it remembers even if you don't consciously remember when you first learned it. The long-term cost of this is not dramatic. It's atmospheric. It's the slow accumulation of a life slightly smaller than the one you sense is available to you. Relationships that stay on the surface because you never went first. Attractions that faded before they were ever spoken. A quiet, persistent sense of watching your own life from a comfortable but frustrating distance. And here's where it lands. Not as a judgment, but as an honest observation. Approach anxiety is not a fear of other people. It is a fear of your own desire. Because to reach towards someone is to admit that you want something. And wanting, for people who carry this particular fear, has historically felt dangerous. You wanted, and it cost you something. And so you learned to want quietly, from a distance, where it was safer. That learning made sense then. It doesn't have to govern now. So what actually changes it? Not willpower, not a pep talk, something more specific and more forgiving than either of those. The first practice, and I want to stay here because this one rewires something at the root level. I call it the smallest possible yes. It is a deliberate, daily practice of taking the version of the action that is so small it almost doesn't count, and doing it anyway. Not the full approach, not the grand gesture, the micro move. You notice someone at the coffee shop, the particular quality of their laugh, the way they are reading something with their whole body leaning in, and instead of the full conversation you've already talked yourself out of, you simply make eye contact and smile. That's it. The whole practice. Or you're with someone you've been dating and there's something you've been wanting to say, something tender and slightly exposed, and instead of the whole speech you rehearse and abandon 17 times, you say the first sentence of it. Just the first one. There's something I've been wanting to tell you. And then you let what comes next come next. Feel what that does in your chest. The slight warmth of having moved at all. The difference between the tight, contracted feeling of staying still and the looser, slightly electric feeling of having chosen action, however small. The nervous system learns safety through repeated non-catastrophe. Every smallest possible yes that doesn't result in destruction teaches your body, at a cellular level, that reaching out is survivable, and survivable, over time, becomes something that feels almost like ease. This is not a quick fix. It is a patient, accumulating reclamation of your own willingness. Now, the second practice. This one cuts deeper, and it will require something of you that the first one doesn't. I call it the reattribution. And it is this. You practice, deliberately and out loud if possible, separating their response from your value. Every single time someone doesn't text back, you say, out loud, to yourself, their response is data about their life, not a verdict on mine. Someone seems uninterested. Their availability is not a measure of my worth. Someone pulls away. Their movement is about them. My reaching was still brave. This sounds almost too simple to work. It works because approach anxiety is fundamentally a narrative problem. It is a story being told in real time about what the other person's behavior means about you. And stories can be interrupted, revised, and eventually replaced with ones that are actually true. Your worth was never located in someone else's response. It was always already yours. The work is just learning to live like you believe that. The person who practices these two things consistently, who takes the smallest possible yes and who rewrites the meaning of the response, becomes someone who moves through the world with a different quality of presence. Not fearless. Something better than fearless. Free. Free to reach. Free to want openly. Free to be the one who goes first. And to know that going first is not a vulnerability. It is a strength that most people spend their whole lives too afraid to claim. You have always been someone who wanted more contact with life than fear was allowing. That wanting is not weakness. It is the most honest thing about you.